Welcome to the Mountain Dude Podcast, brought to you by Initial Ascent, where we share stories of grit, determination, and the relentless pursuit of growth. This is a space where backcountry hunting meets the deeper lessons of life. Success born from struggle and the art of carrying heavy loads more comfortably, both physically and metaphorically, through faith and perseverance. Join us as we explore the paths that shape us, celebrate victories big and small, and fuel our journey with hope and tenacity. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, where we climb higher together.
Good. Testing. How about if I look at this is good.
Yeah.
How about if I look at Dave? And
Almost
Joe?
look like you guys might be holding hands though.
Golly.
Well, you know,
Man, you play
Just pinkies.
it's like right there. I'm like,
Just
Pretty close over there. You
just
guys
let me
are
know you're
close.
still there.
It's like
This might be an interesting podcast here, Chris.
I did a wedding once, and I was signing the marriage license, and the bride and groom, one was on one each side of me, and somebody was doing something over here, and I'm smiling like this, and she's leaning in this way, talking to him.
Oh, man.
And on the picture from the photographer, it looks like I'm like lip to lip with the bride.
So our
so
pastor,
funny.
our pastor got married 20-something years ago, and he showed us a picture in church of the same thing. It looked like his best man was
oh no, kidding,
overlapping
kissing?
with his wife. And
No way.
Yeah,
That's
we got the
hilarious.
biggest kick out of
That's
that.
funny.
That's
funny.
You know, he's marrying Trey.
I did know that
on
Yeah.
Saturday. So
Yeah,
the most important wedding.
that's exciting.
He's ever done.
Yeah, no pressure.
Piece
This
cake.
dude's a consummate professional.
Piece cake.
It'll be 1,501 weddings now.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
it was
wild.
fun
You have
talking
a
to
lot
them
of them.
because they talk to different people and they're like, "Wow, you got this thing all under control." So I'm going to come in there for the rehearsal. I'm going to knock it out of the park, and then everybody watch out because we're gonna crush it. You got to have some. You got to have some
Structure and
authority in there,
Okay, that
or
makes
else
sense.
it's like herding cats.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I think
I can
they got-
imagine that, especially with the stress on a wedding day. It's
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
be a mess.
And then all the best men, hey, I haven't seen you in
Yep.
years, and they start talking. It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go.
yeah, that makes.
you know what I do for a living? I'll turn you inside out so fast, and then I'll pack you out. You ever hear of initial ascent?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
fit perfect on a pack.
I'm pretty sure all but maybe one of those boys on his side follow you or know who you are for sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna be signing autographs before and after the show.
Well, let's start with the marriage license first.
Yeah,
My mom
Okay,
really,
next.
important one.
my mom really wants to meet you.
Fun. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, she's been obviously following us for years ever since we've been going.
Yeah.
So she knows a lot about you. And
Yeah, she
everything,
needs to
so-
see the guy that's been on all the posters.
That's right.
We're going to have a lot more this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Lane's going to come up, and we're going to spend some time up there. He's going to follow me around. So it'll be good.
Oh, cool.
What a good dude.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
That'll be real good.
Thanks for having me in.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in,
man.
Dave. Well, we start every episode with a prayer. So we're going to say a little prayer. Dennis, do you mind?
Oh, let's do it. Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for this opportunity to get together as friends and just chat and learn a little bit more about each other. And we ask that you bless this time and bless the people that are going to hear this. And we just pray that maybe we say something said here today that touches another person. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dennis. Well, welcome back to the Mountain Dude Podcast, everybody. I'm Chris Young. Dennis Stokes is here with me, and Joe Elliston. And we have the one and only Hollywood Dave Beronio. Welcome in, man.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah.
Glad you have the air conditioning on.
Yes, right?
Came
Yeah,
in early
it-
for you on that one, Dave.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's
really
warming
hot.
out there.
Yeah, it changed quickly. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I want to start off kind of getting into your backstory a little bit. Tell me where you're from, Dave, what got you into what you do now, give me a little bit of a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
Okay.
I grew up there with my sister, mom, and dad. And I grew up in the ski racing industry. So from a very young age, I spent a lot of time as an athlete. Start out as peewees. I think mom and dad needed a glorified babysitter, so I spent all the time on the mountain until I got home soaking wet and crying. But so I went up through the ranks of Junior Olympics, and then was on the men's U.S. development team, and traveling to the southern hemisphere to train during the summers and compete, and then come back for the winter. So I spent a lot of time on the mountain, a lot of time doing fitness as a young person, and I kind of realized the dedication and hard work, because yes, I was talented, but there were a lot of other guys that were more talented, so I just had to work hard. So I think that's where I kind of it instilled my ethic for being ready and prepared for what's to come.
Well, I'm glad you're getting into that, because that's exactly where I want today to go, is to talk about fitness. So I'm excited. I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I had no idea. That's why I was like, I gotta get to know Dave a little bit better. Let's let everybody get to know Dave a little bit better.
Yeah. When you say developmental squad,
it's like you qualify to be on kind of the look list for the U.S. ski team. So a lot of those guys that were going to the Olympics, we were that next tier down. And ability to compete with them, yes. Consistency, maybe not as much, but it was a great place to be. Winning the Junior Olympics when I was younger allowed me to step up into that next phase. So you have like the U.S. Western region team and the Eastern region team, and those are getting you prepared. So you're doing a lot of the training with them. You're going to camps and everything else. So I was a pretty elite level ski racer, and the hunting comes in that my dad grew up in California, and his big thing was subsistence. So pheasant, duck, abalone, clamming, going crabbing, hogs, deer, whatever it was, because that's what he ate, what he killed. And then when my Uncle Byron and my dad went to Humboldt State, they had no money. They bought a 50-pound bag of rice, and they were shooting passenger pigeons, homing pigeons.
Yeah.
They're coming back home. Let's take them. That's another story for another time. When the sheriff knocks on the door and there's feathers all over the floor. Anyway, Dad, I hope you're not listening. I start going.
We're past the statute of limitations. It's all right.
Yeah, it's been years. So growing up, my sister and I didn't have beef until we were 13.
Okay.
We lived off of everything that Dad shot and hunted, and I had the passion for that. And so, killed my first deer when I was 12. But I'd always be out pheasant and duck hunting with Dad when I was too young, using the Daisy Red Ryder and shooting a duck. And he goes, "Yeah, you got it." I'm like, my ears are ringing from the shotgun. Yeah. And so I had the passion for going out there, but because I was training so much, my September, October, November was dryland training. We were on the field, we were sprinting, we were,
makes sense.
like football players and soccer players getting ready. And I played soccer. So in school, I was all about being prepared for skiing.
Season,
I didn't want to come into the season. I didn't want to ski myself into shape. I wanted to be in shape, and then once I put the skis on, it was that much easier to be right back into place. Just like us being on the mountain, you can hike around for a week and start to get your legs back under you, but why waste that first, the first time you strap your boots on and put your feet on the ground? You better be ready to go so that you maximize it.
Right.
So I went through that, and then I got to a point where I got really burned out, because I think I was missing out on a lot of other things in life, because I was 9 months on snow and traveling around a lot, and I was missing out on hunting seasons and everything else because there was such a focus.
Right.
So I retired from ski racing. I put on, soft coach's boots, and I sat on the sidelines coaching the junior Olympic team at Heavenly. And I traveled around with those kids, taking them to the Junior Olympics. But what was really fascinating about that is I spoke the language, and we talk about muscle memory, and we talk about, when you speak through something, whatever kind of coaching you may do, it might be jiu-jitsu or football or, skiing, you're talking about the technique. And so your mind is going into what your muscles and your body and your dynamic do. I didn't go around a gate for 2-3 years, just being a coach. And Tom Arnstein from the University of Nevada, Reno, he said, we were standing on the sidelines one day at a race watching our kids, and he said, have you thought about you want to come out of retirement? And so I got a scholarship to race for UNR, put on my hard boots, and it was like that. I was right back into the running, and had some great results, and got to a point where, I think I'm done.
How old were you at this point?
Well, when I was probably early 20s.
Okay.
Because I didn't go from high school to college. I spent some years traveling around, racing, following the dream, and then coaching. And then when I went to college, I was like, I was the old man on campus.
In your mid-20s at this point?
Yeah, mid-20s. Yeah. And then I just, after that, the skiing just kind of fizzled out. But for a man that spent 9 months out of the year on snow, if I get up there once or twice a year now, it's like I never left, ripping turns and carving, but I just don't do it because I want to go do other things.
Yeah.
And so in college, while I was racing, I spent every weekend I could out in the marsh. So the weekend would come and I'd be out duck hunting, and if I drew a tag in Nevada, I was bow hunting. And so that started to, my time on the mountain and in the marsh started to accumulate, and I started feeling really fulfilled. Because now I was able to gather the food that I wanted to eat, that I wanted to live on.
Yeah.
And had a couple really great hunts, really passionate about the bow hunting. What was interesting, Trevin Stoltzfus years ago was with Best of the West when they had an archery segment in their show. And through some different contacts, a friend of mine in Nevada, he said, Trevin wanted to hunt Nevada. He says, let me turn you on to Dave Beronio. He could probably help you out. Well, that's where the leap of faith comes in that I had never met the guy. I just had a couple conversations with him. And he said, I'd really like to apply in Nevada. Can you just give me a pointer? I said, well, why don't we just apply together? I'm a resident, you're a non-resident. I've got a couple points. That's a lot to give up for residents. And I had no expectations of doing anything other than hunting with a guy. And we both drew the tag in the Ruby Mountain, in the West Humboldts of Nevada. He ended up putting some things together. We created a show and packed in 13 miles and hunted the backcountry for a week together and had just a great time. And that's where that friendship was created.
Yeah.
And after that, he said, I liked how you were on camera. I like how you hunt. Would you like to be one of the hosts for the TV show? So that was a fun part of my life, being on television, being able to tell a story. It's not about the ego saying, hey, look at me, look at me. It was about, wow, I get to go to these places and hunt. I get to share that experience with others and hopefully inspire and,
kind of push the new generation to get eyes on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives me some content to look back and go, man, remember when? Because I've had hunts that I wish I had that photograph or that video.
Yeah.
So went through Outback Outdoors, and one of the opportunities was to do a DIY hunt at the R&K Hunting Company in Wyoming and on a Utah ranch through Daniel Richens. We wanted to do a show on that property, and so that's how the relationship was established. Daniel and I got along great, and we were talking about guiding, and I always had apprehension about getting into guiding. I thought, well, I'd be on the mountain all the time, but why do I want to deal with people that may not be of the same mindset or maybe slow me down? And so I really had to go through some things mentally to then take on the challenge of guiding. I didn't want my outdoor experience to be affected by the other guy that I was with that I don't know.
Right.
But what was beautiful is that took a total shift, Because the first, Daniel said, if you ever want to try guiding, and get into it, I like how you are on the mountain. I like how you glass animals. I like how you move. So if you want to come up and guide, I've got a spot for you. In that first year, I guided for 3 weeks. I did end up getting a guy that was not as fun to be on the mountain with. But what shifted in a very quick time was that it's okay who I'm with as long as I'm present in the moment and taking in actually being on the mountain. I was able to fine-tune my skills calling. I was able to continue glassing. And that when you spend time on the mountain, now your eyes are picking stuff up.
It takes reps.
It takes a lot of reps. And now I'm getting tons of reps. So I thought, hey, I have the opportunity to change his perspective, to change his attitude, to help him with that experience and to get to create memories and have the possibility to change the whole dynamics of him being here, and we both get to enjoy this. So whether my client is, at this level or that level, no matter what, I still have an opportunity to be immersed in the woods and enjoying what I do. So that shift changed everything for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
And after that, that next year, I ran the camp. So I was running Queen Mountain for, all of September and all of October. Did that for 12 or so years, and then Daniel had the opportunity to, on another ranch, and he says, when I have this ranch, I'd like to give you first right of refusal to run it. We'll pull you off of Queen Mountain and run this one. So now we're going into year 7 at Thousand Peaks in Utah, and I'm on the mountain from mid-July to mid-November, and then the rest of the year I'm doing other hunting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
the backstory, the kind of what got you into
kind
where
of
you're at now.
The backstory of where I'm at.
So my question is that transition from the elite level athlete and coaching, that transition happens during the film, is that correct? Like when that first film comes out where you drew that tag in Nevada, is that when you kind of realize I'm going to start to put more effort into this hunting side of things?
It didn't happen. It didn't really happen there.
Okay.
That was just me being up on the mountain doing what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I got to see kind of the background of, oh, you got to wear this mic. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Now
all the small things that you don't think about.
Hey, can you carry this? This slider and this, handheld and 2 more tripods. Can we put those on you?
Yeah.
Well, okay. This is how it works. And it took a little bit of time for me to kind of get into it and say, wow, this is a great opportunity that came in. But you talk about a leap of faith, and you never know who you're going to come in contact with. You never know who you're going to pass on the street or have a conversation with. Right. So to me, it's just a daily reminder, be present and pay attention to the synchronicities, because God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, He does.
They're not coincidences. Things are lined out for the way they're supposed to happen. And I'm here today because of that meeting, that chance phone call, and the leap of faith saying, why don't we apply together and you have a better chance to draw a tag.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I don't believe in coincidences. I think God does everything for a reason. So it's cool. The transition then from being that elite level athlete to doing this hunting career full time and what you are doing, is that when your kind of mindset shifts now? Your training is no longer focused towards skiing. It's going to be to get you ready. Because you talked about something that I think is important. You're not getting ready the first week of the season. You're ready year round so that you can perform when the season starts.
Yeah, 100%. My workouts will ebb and flow through different styles depending on, I want to be able to peak.
Right.
Just like doing all the train to hunt competitions, I would work out, and time it so that when I went to a competition, I was at my absolute peak level. So there's not a day that goes by that there's not a thought about what I'm going to do to take care of my body, nutritionally, rest, sleep. Those are all things that are incorporated into a daily basis because it's a lifestyle.
100%.
And what's really important to me is I don't want a lack of my fitness at a level to keep me from being able to climb a mountain, drop down a canyon, pack an animal out. That has to do with the reverence for the animal. My whole experience, because that when you have done something, and this is all relative to me. I'm not going to compare myself to you, Joe, or Dennis. It's all about myself. And if I can show up on the mountain to my best ability, one, I'm doing myself a service, and I'm doing my client a good service.
Right.
Because a lot of times I'm carrying their stuff, so they can be, throw all your stuff in my pack, even your water and your food, and I just want you to hold your gun or your bow, and I want you to be ready. Oh, but you got to carry out. That doesn't matter. We're ready for this,
right? Yeah.
And that way they get 100%. But also, the R&K Hunting Company and Daniel or whoever I'm working with, because I've been into New Zealand, Argentina, Mexico, here in Idaho, whoever I'm working for or with, I want to be the best reflection on them. And so he's put, he's invested his trust in me, knowing that I'm going to show up on the mountain at my best level.
Yeah, I love it.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned that. Where did that come from? Did that come from your dad, from your raising? I mean, not a lot of people think like that. And I love it.
In what respect?
Just the fact that,
the pride,
they
right?
deserve that. They deserve my best. Yep. They deserve this experience. You want to do everything that you possibly can because, number one, that's the right thing to do. But it takes effort. It takes so much effort to do that, and not many people these days do that. Where did that come from?
I think it started out when I was younger that I knew I would benefit from the effort that I put in. And what we don't do today, we miss out on. If I don't go to the gym, I'll never get that day back. And staying on top of that, as a young athlete, I knew that I had to go into my season being in shape. And to be the best that I could be on the mountain, I had to put in all this effort. And then as I started growing and learning and maturing, my parents had invested a lot of money in my ski racing career. I wanted to make sure that I showed them that I gave it 110%. Oh, the coach that hired me, I want to give him 110%. And my athletes deserve 110% because they're counting on me to help them excel. Oh, the outfitter that hired me, he's counting on me to make sure that, I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it for everybody, for everything that's going on. I feel that when you're in service to others, I'm not going out there after the dollar. I'm going out there after being in service because everything will fall into place if you have that mindset to be, in service to others. Yeah. The wedding business.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. That's a whole different.
Okay, let me put on my suit and tie. Hold on. Right?
Yeah.
And my dad was a minister in Lake Tahoe for 30 years. And it was really awesome to watch him because he's such a fluent, beautiful speaker, standing up there with a bride and groom, being able to tell a story to inspire the couple in their love for one another, inspiring them in different ways of how to show up and love one another and grow together and create that bond. And so listening to him, I thought, man, it is a beautiful thing. But I wasn't going to get in a suit and tie. That wasn't me. I was on the mountain.
Yeah.
I was the mountain dude, right?
Yeah.
And as the guiding started to progress, I needed something to do in the off season because it's really hard to have a 9-to-5 job and guide and say I'm going to take this time off, unless you're full time. And so Dad said, "Well, you love doing what you're doing. Have you thought of doing the wedding business?" And I was digging my heels in. Then I started thinking about it. That's the opportunity again to be in service to others, to create my own schedule. Because if I don't want to do any weddings in September and October, I just don't book them. Yeah. And I thought, okay, now we're planning something out. Some people call it a side hustle. It was my career, and in the time that I would do it. And so I took that on, and for 15 years or so, I've been doing weddings. Probably have over 1,500 weddings under my belt, And it's
one or two.
What's that?
Just one or two.
Just one or two.
Deal.
And so that's fun to be a part of their lives in the beginning of what's so special. You can go to a restaurant and have great service, right? You'll remember that waitress for a second unless you go in there all the time. But I'm standing up with them on the most important day of their relationship as they're promising their lives to one another.
Yeah.
And they're listening to me. The audience is listening to me. And I get to create something that will always be remembered. I will always be in a picture. I will always be in their memory that that's the man that stood up there. And so the impact that we can carry off and ripple out into the world, that's just another platform. Guiding, more one-on-one.
Yeah.
Weddings, a couple hundred people. Your son, it'll be 156 or something like that.
Yeah, so the recording of this on June 9th here, on June 14th, you're going to marry my son.
That's right, which was fun because the relationship that I have with you and Joe and the where we started back in 2018 together, and the trust you put in me and the trust that I put in you guys has blossomed into, we're not just friends, we're family.
Yeah.
And then when Trey came up to me and said, I would love for you to marry me. You can ask a friend or an uncle or somebody to do it that doesn't have experience because you want the family member to do it. Yeah, don't do that. You don't ask a plumber to do a drywaller's job.
That's the truth.
Right? And so what's fun is I'm part of the family, but I also have that experience. And I've been able to perform weddings for a lot of different friends and family, and to be a part of that for Tay and Trey this weekend is going to be really special. And then I get to look out at the audience, and I get to see Dennis crying because my words were so impactful.
Man, I'm getting all misty right now thinking about it.
I love it. That's awesome.
It's gonna be awesome.
While we're talking about you being part of the family, tell me about the first time you ever put the pack on.
The first time I put the pack on was at the Train to Hunt National Championships in Colorado. I was using another pack that wouldn't do what I needed it to do for the 100-pound death march. So just keeping it short, we had the fitness competition, which was a lot of box work, a lot of get-ups and burpees, a whole bunch of exercises with shooting a bow in between each one of these events, high heart rate, running. And then when you came through the finish, I think it was like 32 or 38 minutes of constant, sandbags and reps. Then you put on your backpack, which had 100 pounds, and it was, I think, 3.2 miles, over 2,000 feet in elevation. The whole race, it was a race uphill. The pack that I had wouldn't hold the 100-pound sandbag properly. So it was Jewel McQueen had one of the first models of Initial Ascent, and she said, "Hey Dave, why don't you try the Initial Ascent pack?" Well, I had not put it on. It was fit to her, and did some adjustment, threw the sandbag in there, and I'm like, wow, this is going to work. And Dennis and Joe found out about it, that I was using that on a national platform, and so there were some beads of sweat, I think, going on
a little bit.
Yeah.
But what was
Early
amazing
on.
is I couldn't believe the balance that I had, the way it carried, and we're talking about generations ago of in model,
right.
And I was just really impressed. And from that day, after that hike, it was like, there's nothing that's going to go on my back, because one, it helps my body, which is really important. The equipment we use, you put on a pair of boots that you're just going to wreck your feet, but have a good name to them.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
So, Initial Ascent being something that it has helped me in my craft become more efficient, better with clients, better with my body, because now I don't have the back pain that I was having. I did concrete for a number of years, beating my body up, ski racing. That lower back still has some issues mostly when I'm cleaning an animal and I'm bent over, and I'll be sore. But having the pack carry weight that heavy in a proper manner has actually helped my body to for the longevity,
day in and day out. Right.
And I feel, I'm 50 now, and I feel just as good as I did when I'm 30, and I'm looking forward to get back on the mountain and hitting it again.
I love it.
Before you move off that, though, how did you finish in that race?
I believe I got third overall on that year, and then the next year I won the men's overall.
Won it all.
So while Charlie Pappas won the men's elite side, and it's nice to know he's in an initial Ascent pack.
Shout out, Charlie.
Shout out to Charlie Pappas.
How many critters do you think you've packed off the mountain since then?
Oh my gosh,
this is
2018. It's hard. I'm looking at probably if I'm down in the southern hemisphere and hunting up here and south of the border.
Yep.
I'm looking at probably 40 to 50 animals a year that get packed off.
Wow.
We are nonstop up there at Thousand Peaks.
Yeah.
Even when I was doing Queen Mountain and we were only September, October, now we're August 17th to the middle of November.
Right.
And it's not just my clients.
Yeah.
I get a text message from Dobie, and all it is an Onyx pin, and I know we're going to be packing out. And then all of my guys who work, and it could be 5. Usually, it's a 5 group of guides, a core group that's 1,000 Peaks, and then depending on the week, we'll add up to 10 guides. But all of my core guys use the initial Ascent pack, and it was me handing a pack to Dobie and then him realizing, hey, I can carry both hindquarters off. Now all of us use it, and I can grab Dobie's pack and know exactly how to, what needs to be done or vice versa. And so on a given week, when all of us have elk down, we're all packing that animal off. Sometimes it's just one animal a day. We've packed 3 animals off a day, 3 elk off a day.
No kidding.
Depends on what's going on. And
So
we're back to back every week from August 17th or whenever the opener is. It changes each year to the first or second week in November, and then we go off and do our other stuff.
Yeah.
Helping out. So it's a lot of animals. One of my biggest regrets in my life of hunting is when I first started guiding, I wish somebody would have said, start a journal. I have so many animals, so many experiences, so many, big animals, small animals, people I've met. I should have been journaling because the story would have been absolutely epic.
Yeah.
And same with the
Absolutely.
pack. If one of you guys would have said, hey, journal everything that goes on the second you put on this pack, it's all up in my head, and I forgot half the stuff that I know, but it's a lot of it. It's a lot of stories, and it's beautiful memories.
You sent a video, I think it's to you, Dennis, probably, 6 months ago, a year ago, where it was just a collage of different animals that you had packed out, and probably ones you just had on your phone and just threw it together. And it was just like, holy moly, the amount of animals that pack has seen. I didn't realize it was upwards of 40. I was thinking it's closer to like 20, 25. But that is an amazing number when you think about that. I mean,
It's a lot.
You talk about a lifetime warranty. I mean, Dave's one season is like 10 lifetimes for most people, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great
And
comparison.
it ebbs and flows from season. I wish I would know which season had the absolute most animals, but we're very successful up there on that property. And as fine-tuning my craft, I'm able to go out and help others be successful. And I feel it's just this beautiful flow on the mountain. And when there's success, there's packing off.
That's awesome.
Tell me about the first time you did the what now everybody knows as the Beronio and started hanging quarters off the side of
Hollywood
the pack.
method.
Yep.
That was fun. It kind of forced me into that circumstance. Dennis and I had talked. I was up at Queen Mountain in Wyoming. It was late season. Packing was going great. And Dennis and I had talked. I said, we have these upper limbs that are there, and I think it's called a single tree or something, where you hang an animal. We're hanging animals to cape them if we get them back whole, or just letting them hang for getting the skin on them. And I thought, what if I just hung the hind quarters off of the upper limbs, and then I could put the front shoulders on the meat shelf and the back straps, wherever, and then the head and the cape. I was with a client who was not a great walker. We kind of had some things that were rubbing us, in our personalities. Mm-hmm. And I thought, we hiked a couple miles down into this drainage to kill a deer. And I thought, well, I don't want to be coming back down here again. One, he's not going to be able to do it. And we've got a big storm coming in. I don't want to be leaving anything behind and coming back down when it's, even more snow.
Yeah.
So I set it up, and I told Dennis when, I'm going to give this a try and hang them off both sides. Well, that's not really how it was designed, but yeah, sure, give it a try. So hanging both hindquarters on, and I still have the pictures because that was the very first animal that all four quarters, back straps, neck, loin, head, and cape were all perfectly packaged on the initial Ascent pack. And it was like a mile and a half, something like that. Got it out one trip. My guy was a little bit slower. I said, just stay in this, follow my footprints in the snow, but I've got to keep a pace. I don't like to go slow. I like to keep a good solid pace to get back. Yeah. I thought that was amazing. My body feels good. I have all the strength still in my legs. My back doesn't hurt. And then when I shared the pictures with Dennis, I said, well, tomorrow we're going to go kill an elk. This is how it works.
Yeah.
We're going to go kill an elk. We're going to go kill a moose. And so I went down the next canyon over, and we ended up killing a bull down in there. And I put on both hinds, and the weight of that felt really good. And it took a little bit of time to figure out how I was going to do it. Am I going to put the tendon facing backwards? Am I going to put the tendon facing forwards? Right. How many straps? We're used to strapping everything down.
Yeah.
Well, I've got it to where, your buddy can just walk up and hang one on and hang it on the other, and I don't need to strap it down unless I take the pack off, obviously.
Right. Yep.
One strap and we're good to go. So in 2 trips, I got that bull out by myself, and that was nothing. And then from there, it's like, we got something here.
Yeah.
Game on. And then it was a challenge. Then it was, a moose. Let's do the moose. Let's see how many we could. Oh, I put an elk down. I put a bull down. Let's do 3/4 of the elk. So both hinds and the front shoulders. And so now we're testing this pack out. Oh, I've got my brother-in-law and our friend. They have cow elk hunts in Nevada. I wonder if I can get all 4/4 of this cow elk, maybe a couple other pieces of meat on because they come with me. They're like, well, Dave's guiding us. Yeah. We'll just bring our Dora the Explorer backpacks. What are you going to carry in that? Right. Here's a tenderloin for you and a tenderloin for you. And it was, I remember it was about 3 miles packing with a cow elk on my back, just perfectly balanced. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it was hard, but my body and your body and your bodies are capable of doing what they are able to do. Mm-hmm. The pack just does so much more than we were actually capable of doing.
Right.
I could, if somebody was there, set up the pack with moose, and you'd have both hindquarters, and we could do both front shoulders. It will do that, and let's see if your body can carry it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's all relative. But I've found what works for me is I want to be able to carry both hinds out because it keeps me balanced. I want to be able to carry both front shoulders out because now I'm balanced, and the front shoulders, head, and cape just go. So,
I love it.
Yeah,
that's
it's smooth.
So awesome.
It's very smooth.
I remember at the expo when you guys first showed me that picture the first time I ever saw it. And now I'm using it, and I think a lot of people are. It makes a huge difference, just the balance point.
Yeah. Well, here's the messed up thing is people looked at me and they're like, no kidding, you're so strong. Look at this. And then, the little kid picks up 2 hindquarters. I'm like, you didn't feel as cool. It's like the magic trick when the person behind there holds the bunny out because the guy, the sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Now everybody can do it, but
right.
Like I said, it's relative.
Right, absolutely.
And yes, it takes some strength and everything to do it, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And it's actually possible for everybody.
Just about everybody.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, one of my huge passions is fitness and training. So I want to deep dive into that too, because obviously, yes, you are not wrong. Anybody can do it, but you're doing it day in and day out at your age. And you just talked about packing 40 or 50 animals a year off the mountain. That's not simple. So take me through, like, we're in the off season right now. I want to know what you're doing daily. Like, how many days a week are you training? What's your training look like? Recovery? Like, let's deep dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, usually I'm 6 days a week.
Okay.
My typical day looks like I'm up fairly early. I like to pray, have my coffee, meditate, listen to a podcast, and just kind of get into a powerful frame of mind. And I always hit the gym first thing in the morning because work requires me to be mentally focused and physically moving. I don't want to feel lethargic. So I start the day off with a workout. And my workouts now have become very functional. A lot of kettlebell work. I'm not just sitting there doing, bicep curls. So I have a good bicep or anything else. All my movements are functional. Getting a kettlebell and taking it from the ground and up over the shoulder. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is, and I don't rest a lot between my sets.
Okay. Fairly high intensity.
I'm going from one workout to the next, and it's not. Sometimes I can pick up the pace and just really get a good heart rate, but I'm incorporating a lot of different things. I really like the Mountain Tough programs because I'm feeling like this one day and I'm feeling like this another day. Oh, I've got my weighted vest. I've just got kettlebells because I travel around a lot too. So I really have to be adapting to where I'm at. I mean, there have been times where I'm carrying a log up the mountain, throw a log over the shoulder and do squats with it or whatever. So a lot of it now is all function type workouts. I've got a hard time just sitting there on a bench press and, doing deadlifts has been tough on my back just for multiple reasons. Mm-hmm. So I'm incorporating doing those movements in something that's going to be a reflection of how it is on the mountain.
Okay. So more functional, more applicable to what
you're... And I pretty much always work out in a fasted state.
Okay.
That's why I like the morning, because then I can pass it on. Yep. I just feel better. I don't feel weighed down. I know a lot of people want to have some calories in prior to working out, but if it's just a cup of coffee and I can continue on that path, I like to stay that and usually not eat anything with calories until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I just feel fast and lean, right?
And this is about 6 days a week. What's your recovery day look like? Is it like a complete recovery day? Is it zone 2?
No, it's usually, I try to walk a lot.
Okay.
Whether it's hiking a trail or just walking the neighborhood, or I tend to walk a lot. So my recovery day is not just sitting around. Mm-hmm. I'm still actively moving, because you got to think way back when, the ancient people, they didn't have those days where they just sat around. They kept moving, they kept traveling, they kept gathering, they kept hunting. Some days would be more intense, some days wouldn't. But what works good for me is to constantly move. I might go for a run, I might go for a hike. So my rest day is not typically a rest
active
day.
Recovery.
It just won't be as intense.
Okay.
And try to get. I really try to get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
Okay.
Sleep a night.
So sleep's a high priority for you, which it should be for anybody that's training that much.
Yeah. Which is important, but when I get to the mountain and early season, I'm on the mountain early scouting and going to bed really late because of the way the sunrise and sunset.
Right.
So as I'm on the mountain mid-July to mid-August when we start hunting, I'm not getting a lot of sleep, and but that's kind of preparing me, because when we start getting clients in and we have another late night and another early morning, it's not uncommon to get just 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep back to back.
Yeah.
With possibly a day in between the two groups come in.
Yeah. Talk to me about peaking a little bit. What are you doing? So that you just talked to me about what your off season looks like. Now let's talk about, because this is a very underrated tool that I don't think the average person is using, and this probably comes from your elite athlete background, but I think it's something that the average person could utilize more in their training in the off season, because you're exactly right. It doesn't. I'm assuming there's some sort of deload as you prep for hunting the very beginning of that season, so that you're ready to perform during that hunt. Is that correct?
Yeah, I try to keep things pretty. Like when I was doing the train to hunt, it was a little bit more condensed. Now, since I'm not competing,
Right.
I'm looking at the season. But then I'll have bear season, and I'll have our January, February seasons, whatever April. So it'll kind of ebb and flow. But when I come off the mountain, I want to get my body back in the gym. Yes, I've got the ability to do pull-ups and air squats and push-ups and body weight activity in my little cabin midday when everybody else is sleeping. So I will keep my body moving, and when I get into the gym again, now I'm not going to push it to where I'm causing injury. I'm going to start building that up a little bit, starting to build that strength, the mobility, and make sure my techniques are right, because I've been off on those movements,
right.
And then so I'll just kind of maintain a little bit and then start to ramp up, and then as we get into my summertime, now things are picking up. My workouts now are pretty good and intense,
Yep.
and then when I get to the fall, I know that my peak is going to have to last for a long. For many months.
It's a full season, right?
It's a full season.
Yeah.
And I know that once I get there, all this other stuff is going to fall off. I'm not going to be in the gym. And so hopefully I am at a point that I'm at my best, and then maintain it through the season. Yeah, I lose weight, I lose muscle mass.
Of course.
But then I get in the gym and the strength comes back quick, and it's still there.
Yeah. So you keep talking about recovery, which is super important to be able to train as often as you are and during the season. But let's talk a little bit about your nutrition, because that's obviously one of the most underrated tools that I think people often overlook.
Yeah.
What's your daily diet look like? Like, are you tracking macros, calories? Have you been doing this long enough you just know what you need to take in? Do you have a specific diet you follow?
I don't have a specific diet, and I don't follow macros.
Okay.
And I don't log anything. I never have. My sister's a trainer down in Las Vegas. She and her husband, they weigh out everything.
Yep.
They document everything, but they've gotten to a point that they know, okay, if I put this many ounces on the scale, I get this much. I eat for what my body's telling me. Mm-hmm. I don't eat a lot of junk. I hardly eat any junk. I stick with protein and high fat. I don't eat a lot of carbs, and I drink a lot of water. So my typical diet is a fair amount of coffee and butter and milk, like goat milk. So it's not pasteurized.
Yeah.
It's high protein, high aminos, and a lot of meat. When I did my best year of train to hunt, I was only eating basically bacon and steaks.
Carnivore-esque.
Yeah, carnivore-esque, but people talk about a diet. I just eat for what my body's feeling like it's going to do.
Yep.
Typically, when I'm on the mountain, I'm not getting a lot of calories in, but I'm still going and going and going. And obviously, it's working because I'm going back to back. Yeah.
How are you recovering on the mountain that way?
In what way?
How are you physically recovering? Because that is a common problem. We are depleted and a calorie deficit, and you're doing most people, they pack that one animal out and it's over, so it's not that big of a deal. You're doing this back to back to back. You get that on X-Pin, you got to go.
Yeah. Recovery, I think it's just staying diligent on keeping those fat calories and the protein in.
And then it probably plays a factor in what you've done.
There's a lot of times where I don't, I may not eat. I won't eat breakfast. I typically don't eat breakfast before I'm guiding somebody. Yeah. And I go out on the mountain in the morning and I'll, have some lunch. But there are days where I may not eat until dinner. Right. I'm not sure if that works for everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm able to just maintain it.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is my understanding of how this is going is because of the bank account that you've put into in the off season. That's the reason you're able to perform even on these days when you're in a calorie deficit or you get a little bit of sleep. It's because of what you've done in the off season to make sure that you are physically and mentally ready. You can pull from that bank account without getting it on empty.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I love it. I nerd out on this stuff. This gets me so excited because that's a huge passion of mine too. Is just
and what's
being
interesting
ready.
is I don't nerd out. I am not a gear junkie.
Yeah.
You know, you look at me and sometimes I'm pieced and parted together on the mountain. And you're like, oh, well,
oh boy.
You know, so I'm not a gear junkie. I don't care what I carry on the mountain.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't cut my toothbrush. I don't weigh things. I throw the things I think I need and I deal with it. So
yeah.
I've never been that guy to fine tune, and I just go with what feels good, and those repetitions over years have led me to that place. So I live on a daily basis, looking at the future, knowing that I'm going to have to perform at some time. And so what am I doing today? What am I investing today? Does it sit in alignment with all the things?
Right. You're disciplined on a daily basis to get you there. Well, and that's not easy. And something we talk about on this podcast a lot is the struggle and what has helped shape us and kind of put us in that position. Can you recall on a moment of struggle, whether that's in life, on a hunt, whatever it may be, that's kind of you feel like has helped shape you to give you that discipline and put you in a position that you're in?
I don't think I have anything in specific that I can remember that was a struggle that got me to say, you know what? I'm getting really fat. I'm getting really out of shape. I mean, there was a time in college where I was, 210 pounds. I was a little bit heavier. I was doing concrete, but I was still strong. And so it wasn't anything that really affected me unless I looked in the mirror and said, well, I'm a little softer around these sides. But I think it's all of those things from a kid, little tiny failures. Well, I wish I would have been a little bit stronger around this turn. If I had done a little bit more work, would I be in a better place? And so it's not one big thing. I think we all have those little failures along the way, or learning lessons that living how I do intentionally is preventing the next thing to hold me back.
Right. Okay. Can you think of any moments during your skiing career that kind of added fuel to that fire?
Anything that added fuel to the fire? I don't like to get beat.
Yeah, and I can kind of see that, which I love it. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. So that's why I ask that question, because I got a feeling there's a moment you can recall on during that career where it was like you anticipated either winning or being in a different position than you were.
Not that I can remember, but there were a number of. I did have a couple guys that were always just one level above me. Yes, I had a very elite level, and we would go back to back.
Yeah.
But it was, I could witness them not putting in the effort during the off season and just kicking my ass because of sheer talent.
Right.
And so with those little grains of sand to the jar, it just built up this, that if I don't do the preparation ahead of time, I will get beat.
Yeah.
And then there's that mentality that I have that my gas tank might be empty, my legs might be hurting, but my mind will take me farther than everything else. Yeah, right. This hurts, but we don't do enough hard stuff in life. We're very comforted in so many ways. So it's, what are you doing to push your body and your mind and your spirit to a place that is uncomfortable? Because you'll go a lot farther than you realize. But it's like the guy that says, "Oh man, I'm so hungry on the mountain. I need to eat. Well, do you? You can get up, you can keep going, and put your mind to it, and you're going to conquer.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves that it's the story we tell ourselves.
Right.
So
what was trained to hunt one of those things that you talk about? Do hard things. Was that something that really helped you mentally prepare to do those things out on the mountain, to overcome some of those obstacles?
Yeah, that's a great question, and yes, very much so. Because train to hunt is like Stephen Don said when we were on the mountain in the Nevada Train to Hunt. He goes, "Beronio, leave it all on the mountain." And I always left all of it on the mountain, but when he said that, it made sense. When I come through that finish line, I want zero gas in the tank. I want to come through and just be like, I don't have much left to just keep me up. And so my training ended up being just getting to that level and then backing up, just getting to that level and backing up, and knowing that when I did have the competition that came, a lot of them I was way ahead in regards to the fitness, because I just put myself in a mindset that it's going to be really painful. And every time, every event, I don't know how many I did over the years that I did train to hunt, that horn would go off, and my first thought was, oh, we're doing this again. This is going to hurt. And then it's like, get on it, and mash it. Because once somebody starts to get ahead of you, that you start to feel it. But train to hunt was really good, because in my mentality, it was about just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because when you come to the finish line, you're not going to die. You may be tired, but my biggest regret would be coming through the finish line, feeling good and going,
I had some left.
Man, I let myself down. I let my family down. I let my friends. I let myself down because I didn't give everything. Could I have run a little faster? Yep, I should have run faster. That's why I'm in this position. So it's like that saying: the pain of regret hurts a lot worse than the pain of putting it in for that moment. Because regret lasts a long time. There were moments in my ski racing career that I regretted certain aspects, and those are a little bit more on the internal private side, where I knew that I was in a spot and I'm just going to back up a little bit. I'm not feeling it. Then I get through the finish and I'm like, what a waste of all that effort that I put in the beginning and gave up right here. A couple little moments in life where I remember that. And it sticks with me today.
Probably more so.
I'll never forget that. So regret sticks with you a lot longer than the pain. I don't remember the pain of some of those trained hunts. I remember that it was hard. I remember that it was painful, but I don't physically feel it. Regret, you feel.
Yep. Forever. Yep. Doesn't go away.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to close with some rapid fire, but before we get to that, one piece of advice you have for a young hunter.
One piece of advice for a young hunter. Wow, that's a good question. Be persistent and be present. There are so many aspects where and we do this in society. Oh, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing next week? Oh, I'm looking forward to this. Be present and enjoy the journey today, and put the effort in today, because it's going to make you better in the future. Don't miss out on the memories of today because you're thinking so far ahead. Live in the present and live in gratitude.
I love it. That's great advice.
That is.
Dennis, you got us?
Well, every episode we like to do rapid fire questions, and these are either
Blue.
Or. Shoot, you got my first
my
one
favorite
already.
colors.
Anyway, they're going to be really quick, obviously, with the name, but we're going to learn a little bit more about Dave Beronio with these questions. Okay, you ready?
Okay, so the question's fast, but how long do I have to think?
Yeah, it's going to be fast, too.
Okay.
But the questions may not be as fast because I don't have them right here in front of me, so they're off the cuff. This is going to be really fun.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Country or rock?
Country.
Boots or sneakers?
Boots.
Should ask flip-flops.
Yeah. Floor or floorless?
Floorless.
Okay. This one may get you. Okay. Nickelback or AC/DC?
AC/DC.
Yes. Attaboy.
I love it.
That was
Dave?
back in my high school days.
Bow or rifle?
Bow.
Okay. Early morning or late in the evening?
Early morning. Early morning, because you have all day to keep going. Yeah. And I don't like evening hunting. Evening hunting is being prepared for tomorrow morning. At least you can put something to bed and take your time.
Yes.
Love it.
Love it. Okay,
Perfect.
Last one. Are you ready for this? Okay. This is stretch. Sushi or fried chicken?
Oh, sushi is I don't eat fried shit.
Of course not.
We go back to the nutrition, and
Nowhere did it say fried.
And here's the thing: we got to pay attention to what we put in our bodies.
It's the truth.
It's so sad to see what this country has gone to by mass production, instant gratification. Swipe left because being in this situation is hard, so I'm just going to swipe left and make it easy. I'm going to eat fried food and processed food because it's stuff I can put in my pie hole.
Yep.
That's a sad deal. Sushi all the way.
Short-term satisfaction.
All right.
I love it.
That told us a lot right there.
It did. Well, Dave, thanks for coming on the Mountain Dude podcast. Where can listeners find you?
They can find me at Hollywood Dave 00. And that's interesting because 00 was Outback Outdoors. I was adamant about not having social media. I promise to do a better job of posting. I've got a lot of content out there, but I'm so present in my moments that I just don't sit down to do enough social media. But it's social media. My phone number... No.
A lot of ladies almost... They're getting ready.
I don't think you can take that many calls at once, to be honest.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Or you could just call up the Initial Ascent shop and they'll know where to find me on the mountain.
Perfect. I love it. What if somebody wants to hunt with you?
If somebody wants to hunt with me, that's a difficult one because I'm very dedicated to my outfitter.
Yep.
And if you want to elk hunt with me in the fall, you got to go to R&K because that's where, one, that's where my income comes from, and two, that's where my dedication is. I hardly ever hunt for myself anymore. I did draw a rifle bull elk tag in Nevada this year for the same unit my son drew, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I had a guy talk to me the other day, and he said, "How do you feel about hunting for yourself because you hunt so much? I hunt more than anybody I know. I just don't pull the trigger." And it's interesting because I would much rather guide and take somebody else out and help somebody else than actually pull the trigger for myself. God always provides, and my freezer is always full. It just keeps adding in there, but I don't pull the trigger.
I love it. Well, thanks for coming on. Remember, everybody, hit the like and subscribe button and drop some comments.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Fun times.
Until next time, keep your eyes on the summit. This is the Mountain Dude Podcast, signing off.